Okay, people, let me try and paint you a picture of what Avenue M Bowl looked like, felt like, and smelt like. It opened in the late 50s, closed, I'm not sure when, but somewhere in the 90s or something like that. It was converted into a storage warehouse. What a shame. I mean, what a shame. But anyway, getting back to the visual. Uh, the bowling alley was on Avenue M, ran from McDonald Avenue to East Second Street, the full block. Now, McDonald Avenue. I mean, this is a picture. This is a flavor of Brooklyn all within itself, and what a great spot for an action house like this would become. I mean, McDonald Avenue was the L train. Oh yeah, nothing like an L train in Brooklyn, and McDonald Avenue was one of the best ones. I mean, it had character of its own, and right on the corner of Avenue M was the entrance to it, which is oh, I'll tell you, it just adds so much visual when you're pulling up from wherever you're coming from, a different part of the country, a different part of the state, a different part of the city. You've never been there before. You pull up to Avenue M because you hear about all the action, and there it is, the L train with the entrance. Okay, anyway. Now, this here was probably, I mean, I won't use the word ugly. It wasn't ugly. It was just plain. I mean, Howie Noble owned it. We called him Fish Face. And they also owned one or two other bowling alleys in Queens, well, Howie along with his brother. Uh, and he didn't believe in spending extra money. Let me tell you something. This was a complete brick building. Nothing fancy about it. I mean, brand new brick, of course, looked okay, but just so plain looking. Right in the middle of it, it had double glass doors, plexiglass, whatever it is, with two side panels, and pretty plain sign above it that said Avenue M Bowl. Uh, Now, you would walk through the front doors and would go into like a vestibule, and of course, that's so that there's a second set of doors, which becomes like a windbreaker. Now, as you look straight through the doors, of course, on the left side it had the bowling racks where with all the bowling balls on it, and then about halfway up, there was this great. Well, I wouldn't call it a bowling machine. It was more like you actually threw a ball. The ball was about the size of a bocce ball, if you know how big a bocce ball is, and you rolled it down this long, thin alley. When I say long, thin alley, I don't know what it was, 12 feet long, something like that. And the pins were down there, and you actually bowled on it. But you actually had a ball, and you bowled on it. And not to brag or anything like that, but this is the one game of bowling that nobody, but I mean nobody, even came close to me. I never, never, never lost a match on that, and this was a pretty popular device, and a lot of different bowling alleys at the time had it. So people came in when they came into bowl action, and we were hanging around or whatever it might be, or just in the daytime. I bowled quite a few games on this for money, and I just ate the competition alive. For whatever reason, I was fantastic on that. Okay, now in the middle on the right is where they had the desk. It was raised. And then as you walk a little further on the right side would be the staircase, uh, like a double staircase where you could see through each stair. And right behind and underneath the back of the stairs was a bumper pool table. And then right behind the bumper pool table, we had the food counter, which was the full width of the bowling alley, the back wall, and of course not including the lanes on the two sides. And very plain, just stools in front of a counter. But this was the hub of many, many a great day. Uh, for a few years, we had Charlie back there, and Charlie was kind of a strange guy, but uh, he would bet on me, and he would win a lot. Therefore, I never paid for anything. I mean, they had the most fantastic tuna sandwiches. I think it was a combination, because Howie was cheap, of tuna and bonita. But with the mayonnaise, it was the best I ever had, and the pickles were fantastic. Those great dill pickles. So I always ate for free. They had fantastic burgers there too. Uh, Really good French fries, and of course the soda. What we would seem to do many a times there when we were just hanging out at the lunch counter. Of course, this was the greatest place to shoot the shit, talk about everything under the sun. In the afternoons, especially at night, it was always crowded. So I'm talking about basically afternoons. Many a time we would flip coins. There would be three of us, and it would be odd man wins. So we would flip for $1, $2, $5, $10. Sometimes it would really escalate. And again, for some reason, flipping coins, I mean, there's no talent, there's no technique, but I always seem to do well with flipping coins, even back in my school days. Well, pitching coins, that's a different thing. There was a lot of skill in pitching coins, and I lived off of that for a while. I used to take cabs to school back and forth in high school from my winnings from pitching coins by the food joint right on Brighton Beach Avenue before we would go to school every morning. But the lunch counter, again, nothing fancy, just as plain as you could be. But the little food they had, great food, and Butch ate for free. And Butch made money there flipping coins. So come on, what could be better? I mean, all of Avenue M was very plain. It was brand new, but let me tell you something. This is probably the plainest, ugliest bowling alley that had no character at all, except for later on when we just gave it that character just by being there in the action. But the visual had no character. I mean, you can pick out almost any bowling alley in the country, and it had a better visual and better character than this. Brand new, but no feel, because it was just done so cheaply. Howie was one cheap guy. Let me tell you something. He didn't believe in spending anything where it didn't have to be spent. And as a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why the action eventually started there. Howie got the idea that if he backed Mac and Stoop, who he believes in, because they became friends, and Howie's no fool. He's been in the bowling business probably most of his life, knew how great they really were. That this could bring people in the off hours. Avenue M, like many bowling alleys at the time, was open 24/7. The only difference is after the leagues ended, of course, there was a little bowling at night, but very little. So he said, well, maybe these guys could bring people in and he could get some extra lineage at night, and basically that would be his reward. Well, did it work out? Did it work out in spades? Oh yeah, because for a couple of years later, maybe close to 3 years, once the word got out that the better bowlers could come down and find action. At first it was just against Mac and Stoop, and then as more bowlers came down, everybody was bowling each other. In no time at all, Avenue M was packed 6 nights a week, not 7, 6 nights a week. For some reason, Saturday night the big action was always elsewhere, mostly at Central Lanes, where nothing ever matched Central Lanes for gigantic action one night a week. I mean, Central Lanes owned the big action. It was a big house up in Westchester, wherever it was. I think it was Westchester. And but the other 6 nights, Avenue M had it. And I don't think any other house ever had action like this, 6 nights a week for a few years running. I mean, I'm talking, you would walk in there any night of the week except Saturday, and just about every lane, if not every lane, would be going with top-notch bowlers coming in from all over the place. And outside of that, the Shylocks, the bookies, the characters, the businessmen, the lawyers, cops, gangsters, you name it. The place would be packed. It would look like a Sunday afternoon. When back in those days, the bowling alleys were packed on Sunday afternoon. All the families, everybody came to bowl on Sunday. But this is the way it looked there every night of the week. and the money flowed. The money flowed like so much wine coming out of bottles, or whatever you might want to say. And just to be a part of it, just to watch these great bowlers, the Mike Lemongellos, the Richie Hornwrights, you name it, up and down the line, Fats and Deacon, Philly Marino, just all of the bets. The Beeper wasn't there yet; he came later, years later, in my comeback in 1976. But Iggy Russo and Burt Goodman, and the list is endless, just endless. The best around the metropolitan area were there constantly, and they came in from Florida, and they came in from Chicago, and they came in from upstate, you name it, because Avenue M was the place you could get a match any night of the week, big time, big money, the whole bit. And this is kind of my description of Avenue M. A memory that I'll have, a memory that I just can't tell you was the best time of my life. I was at Avenue M myself, started at the age of 13, which was 1957, and I was there until I was 22, when I made the big mistake of getting married and leaving the action scene. And I was a really good action bowler. I mean, I wasn't one of the tops, but I ruled just about the second tier. You had the great bowlers, which I could bowl with them, but I wouldn't have made money with them. I mean, even though I could compete with them, there was no way to make money up there on that end. But I never bowled against them, because if you do, you get a name, that's where you belong, and you can't get to using your matches. I bowled in a great division right under that, strong 190 bowlers and up, which back then, a 190 bowler was a great bowler. But that's the category that I was able to really do well, constantly win, and I did for years, and I never stepped up to that other arena, because to me it was all about making money, not ego. And I made money, and I lived off of it. So that's my description of Avenue M anyway. It's, like I say, ugly might be the wrong word, just plain, no visual character, no nothing, but one of, if not the biggest action houses of all time, right in Brooklyn, New York, on Avenue M, right alongside McDonald Avenue with that fantastic L train. Butch, over and out.